we got asked by Alex to talk about our story so far in terms of the data. So the story so far, we're going to do a joint presentation, so I'll be switching back and forth really. We have one partnership and it covers Lambeth and Southwark. More recently, Croydon and Lewisham have formed their partnership. Although we're all part of the same trust, it was decided before I took post to have Lambeth and Southwark jointly. I think there have been some issues with that actually, but I'll talk a little bit more about that a bit later on. So the story so far, we are using the hub and spoke model. We have trained staff that have become embedded in all the different teams between Lambeth and Southwark. We have information disseminated through team meetings, clinical governance days, steering group, supervision, co-working training and induction. And I think that's the key area that has actually sort of helped us succeed really, that actually we were all signed up to do it, from the sort of more senior than me to sort of, you know, more junior staff, that actually IAPT is not going to go away, and this is what we're going to do and how are we going to do it. It was also sort of helpful having sort of Alex and Duncan, who we sort of came in to talk on our clinical governance days, just to say, well, you know, everyone's talking about IAPT and this is what, you know, this is how we're going to do it. So that was also really helpful. Also in terms of competitive teams, and this it wasn't super competitive, actually it was kind of looking at other teams, how they've scored on their measures, what they're doing. So actually the data was very open, that people could access data from, you know, all teams. So obviously in terms of sort of IAPT, we've obviously got, and I'm sure you know all this, in terms of a discussion of measures, clinical interpretation, training, parenting, supervision, consultation, PPI, feedback of measures, co-working, CBT. Now obviously, and as I said, it was before my time, but the plan was for Lambeth to take the parenting arm and for Southwark to take the CBT. But actually, that was difficult actually to sort of implement in practice. So actually we now have CBT embedded in both boroughs, parenting embedded in both boroughs as well actually, because it was difficult in terms of in Lambeth getting the Southwark parents over, because it's quite a sort of large geographics really. So actually it was important to embed both parenting, CBT in both boroughs.
Possible to ask just
yes.
The size of your service, full-time equivalent, something like that?
I would say there's about 55 in each borough in terms of Lambeth and Southwark. So it is. Oh, I didn't realise that. Did that? I'm impressed myself though. There we go. So yes, they're quite. Although it doesn't feel that way, because actually in terms of service needs with waiting lists and everything else, you know, there's still quite a demand. But actually, yes, they are. So, okay, in terms of the pack line, I'm going to hand you over to Lynette.
So as a CYP IAPT administrator, I go around tier 3 and tier 2 sites to encourage them and also to get to put a lot of the data either onto the system, we have the EPJS system, which holds all the client data, and also make sure that there's enough packs, enough forms there that they can actually easily pick out a form, give it to the young person can fill it out, or the parent can fill it out, and then they can put it either on PJS or in a drawer for me to put it in. Because we did not want to get into a situation where they come and say to us, oh, we don't have reports, and as commissions, so we haven't got time to post on the report. So I'm there to make sure everything is there and it's accessible. For every young person that first comes into the service and is going through the assessment process, depending on what team you're in, either it's one assessment day or it's 3 assessment appointments, there are packs, and these packs have specific forms in them. So we divided them up into 5 packs, A to E, and we use this flowchart so that all clinicians know which pack to pick out. The largest pack we have is actually a pack D, And it means that in Pack D, both parent and young person are expected to or are able to fill out all the forms, which include SDQs, barcodes, calls, and any other form that the clinicians or the team specifically want in that pack. The smallest pack we have is Pack A, and it's basically one SDQ and a white course, which a young person also feels that they can interact with IAPT themselves, and then mark on the white course the smiley face. I'm sure you will see that the white course is just a smiley face, or just faces. So yeah, each pack is designed for each category or group. Different teams though don't use all these packs. So for example, our adolescent team focuses on Pack B and C. So the adolescent team ranges from 12 and above. And child and family team, which is 12 and under, usually focus on Pack A and C. So you'll find that different teams focus on packs. So in every single team base, I work across 7 different sites. This is in every single team's base. They've got a cupboard, they've got me, I'm not 7, but I'm on. They've got an induction pack, an induction folder, sorry. Now this induction folder lets them know about IAPT from beginning to end. So I tell them how IAPT was created, what it's used for, funding, what we're expecting of each clinician, where the packs can be found, anything to do with IAPT, you name it, it's in that folder. So if I'm not around, that folder is there and everyone else can go through it quickly. Now in these packs, they're very, very detailed. They're about 150 pages long. But 100 of those pages are basically details about the forms and the forms themselves. So that if they can't get through to me, if someone annually or no one's there, they can still find out what each form does and how they can tally the scores for each form if they don't want to use the computer for our generating system. As you can see, we've got initial packs and we've also got discharge packs. Discharge packs are also very important because they allow us to get both the minimum time, the minimum data set of beginning and end, but also it allows the clinician to also remember to do the end process. We find a lot of clinicians remember to do it once and that's it. The cabinets themselves, they've got forms for a young person in one cabinet, forms for the parent in another cabinet, and then the packs at the top so that they're easily distinguishable. There's no confusion at all. Posters are around to encourage both young people and clinicians to complete the forms, and also the tray there with the big stack is usually for me, and to put them on if they haven't got time.
Okay, so a little bit about our team. So data's collected from each community team base. I think it's more than 7 actually, it's about 9 across both sides actually. And it's placed onto our SLAMs. We have our sort of special electronic patient journey system, EPJS. So that's purely specific to SLAM. In terms of the teams, so we've got 5 Lambeth community teams. We have a larger child and family and adolescent team from 0 to 18. The Lambeth Neuro Development team, early intervention, youth offending service, and looked after service. In Lambeth, the teams are very much integrated with the local authority. So the early intervention and the youth offending sit with the loss staff, and early intervention sit with the early help staff. In Southwark, we've got the adolescent service, the Southwark Neurodevelopment team, child and family team, CareLink. We've also got a functional family therapy team as well. So all of those would input into the EPJS. There is some sort of double entry on some of the sort of teams that have that are located with the local authority, but we are still working. They have to use EPJS, and they cut and paste bits on the local authority database as well, actually. Okay, so the daily data collection ensures regular contact with clinicians. Any issues that may arise can be resolved in the week and can be communicated face to face. So Lynette, those who are covering these 7-8 sites, is there all the time. And actually I'm based in 2 different sites, and actually we bump into each other sort of quite a lot, which is really good. All paper copies collected by the administrator, stored, destroyed once they're scanned, and this ensures that clinicians can always find and access child computer questionnaires. I mean, I think it's also important to kind of, so we've now got into the system new staff coming in and being inducted into IAPT, and I think we've also converted all the sort of current staff, and luckily it's, some staff, embraced it, it was fine. There were other staff that perhaps I had to have a more trickier conversation with, and actually there was one staff who said, he produced all the measures, he hadn't completed one. So, I had to have that conversation with him because, actually we are an IAPT site, we are committed to it, and we've got to do it. But interesting, that probably 3 years ago when I started sort of coming to this sort of meeting, and it was sort of a meeting with managers. The managers certainly felt, right, we're going to go to the NTL room, I'm going to, write all the staff letters, this is what they have to do, and I want to go down that route, and I don't think it's very effective, and it is about giving people the information and sort of going, answering their questions. I think also what's very helpful, we had two service users who actually really liked the measures, and so they came to talk to the staff and said, actually I really liked it, I was able to check on my progress, and then clinicians thought, actually they quite like it, so that's sort of how it started really. So,
Okay, right. So, this is just a quick glimpse of the IAPT induction folder. I didn't actually bring it today, it's a bit too heavy to bring, but it has everything in it. It even shows the it even shows the clinicians how to put the entries onto PJS. So it's basically a dummy's guide to IAPT Islam. There will be some days where I am not there and they want to put it on very quickly, and I might be able to on site, so it might take me a very long time to get there. Or they've got a client coming in within the next 2 minutes and they forgot to give me the form to put on. So they know how to put it on. They know what is expected of them for each time point. So we decided to do 3 time points within that slab, just to cover our bases. First time point is the assessment. Second time point was basically a follow-up from the assessment, depending on what they found useful in the forms. You get, on many occasions, some people don't like using archives, so they stick to the SDQ, because the SDQ is giving them more information, and then I influence them to continue with the SDQ and then continue that on until they discharge the client. So every new starter, even every old starter, if they want to refresh, they get an IAPT induction. This enables them to do as much as they can with very little difficulty, and it happens within the second week of them coming into the service, because they've got so much else to do. I don't want to bombard them with extra information, and that's also a key thing within Islam. We don't want to bombard them with too much, because then we get a lot of resistance from a lot of clinicians, which is very hard to stop after a while. So, once you've put everything onto PJS, this is what comes out. We currently only have them for archives and SDQs, because we made them mandatory. So we made those 2 forms that we can actually get scores from. And this is how it comes out. Now, these graphs are very useful to the young person and also the clinician. A lot of clinicians have said to me that they find these useful because it actually confirms what they were originally thinking. And sometimes if it doesn't confirm what they were thinking, they still investigate that issue. So, as you can see from the SQ right at the end, the red bars mean that there is a clinical, there is need for clinical intervention. So any CPT, parenting therapy, or any other type of therapies being given by the clinician, they can focus on these aspects. But also, once you give this to either the young parent or the parent of the young person, and they can see where the red bars are, you have an option to ask them, which one do you want to focus on? It's no longer a thing where the clinician dictates the therapy. The young person also has to say, and that's what's really useful about these charts and not the line graphs that a lot of places do have. I don't know if any of you have them. Line graphs? Are they helpful? So these ones are really good. And usually when it's green, it means there's no chemical intervention needed. Amber, so it's a red light system. So that's how they find it helpful. I must admit though, I do get a lot of calls, and they're all green. And I always say to the clinician, they're here for a reason. Because it's all green, don't get complacent. You'll find that a few stages later, it turns out all red. Because the young person has been able to open up to you, we can now confide any different types of confidential information, and they're now starting to realise the issues that they may have. So, yeah, I always tell them don't get complacent, but also don't get disheartened if it's punishment. It just means that your work is beginning and it's probably getting better for the young person. Okay, so there's two methods, me or the clinician. It's been me for a very, very long time, and the people before me, it's been them. We're now pushing it to the clinicians. Not administrators, but clinicians. And you will find that when you push it to the clinicians, they have less forms. With Pack Ds, they probably pick 2 forms up and then put 2 forms on. But I always encourage them to put more on. It literally, and I'm not kidding, it takes me 30 seconds to put on an archives. And I have to show each clinician the tricks to putting on archives and the tricks towards putting on SDQs. Finding certain tricks helps the clinicians take on board these tasks a lot more. You don't want to bombard them with a huge task and say, well, you have to go through each one, click on it, put the number in, click on it. So no, there's an easy task, there's an easy method to this, show them. And I find that now 20% of the clinicians do it themselves. All they do is they put the form in, and then I double check the forms and put it in correctly. Any mistakes that they make, I can easily rectify them because I can call our systems managers and they can take it off and I can put it back on again. But either way, it is very easy for them to put on the forms apart from
Might be worth saying just a bit about the iPads.
Oh yeah, so we have iPads. Well, we had iPads a couple of years ago, but we went wrong. But we rectified it now. So we've used it within Croydon and Lewisham because they're the smaller boroughs. And we'll be rolling them out in our Lambeth and Southwark in the next 6 months. We're just trying to get all the troubleshooting issues done. And now with the iPads, it's each iPad is assigned to each clinician. So you can imagine how many staff on it? Yeah, about 100 staff, 100 iPads. And they can take this to every single session that they have. And this also really encourages them to do more IAPT forms. As soon as they fill the form on the iPad, it goes straight to our EPJ system. So that means all I have to do is double check that's on there and it extracts data for any data collection onto the report. So yeah, they do a bit more at a, let's say, more enjoyable scale because it's an iPad, it's not the same.
So, and then hopefully it will then sort of be backed up in our exception report and then the sort of really in terms of the clinicians haven't done it. But we've now, I think the key thing was just about that confidentiality. And I think before the iPad, you know, when we gave to the young person, certainly didn't want that kind of, you know, going on to some other things that they shouldn't. But now it's very defined, they can literally just look at what they're meant to be doing. And actually it's been successful in the original project. Great.
So
can people see that?
So we have a specific way of putting on our measurements so that they can count it in our exception reports. So I extract the data from our database, which is called Insight. Now, we had issues in the past because when clinicians put them on, before I started, they weren't putting them on correctly. So they'd say, yes, I've done it, and you could see it was on there, but it wasn't being pulled through our extraction system. So I've made sure that they know that there is a certain way to put on events. So there's 3 ways now. You either tag it to an event, so a clinician tags up their event. As soon as they finish, they tag the form to the event, and that's the quickest way. The second way is to go to our outcomes tab, and also click on what form you completed, then tag it to the date that it was completed, and then press save, and that's also submitted correctly. And then also on the events, when a clinician creates an event, there's a questionnaire box at the bottom which they can indicate what questionnaire they put in. So if they haven't filled in any questionnaires, they untick every box that's been ticked. if they have filled the questionnaire, they tick what they have completed, which makes it a lot easier because it comes on this new system that we have, which is not on here, which is called EPJS Assist, which is a sidebar which tells you all the forms you need to complete or you haven't yet completed. I do data extraction every month or every 2 weeks, and this is dependent on the time of year. So if it's the end of the financial year, I do it every week, so I can make sure it's routinely updated. But from this, I can get, or I can tell people what they need to do to reach the minimum data set, which is one measure completed at 2 time frames by the same person. I do that for the ongoing cases and also for the new cases. So ongoing cases are people that have been seen 2 or more times. 2 or more times. New cases are cases that have just been accepted and been seen once and have only done an assessment. And from there, I can tell people what they are needing to do and what has been done. So you'll find that a lot of clinicians have nothing left to do because they've met the standards, but they still continue to do the intubation. And then you'll find some people have everything to do, but I give them a little push and tell them you still have to do it. So this is what my spreadsheet looks like. And if you're thinking it does that automatically, it doesn't. When I first started, it took me 3 days to do this. My caseload is 1,500, so I have every single person or every single team's caseload put onto mine, and I have to go through it one by one to tell them what they need to do. So for example, this here is done by hand, and for confidentiality I couldn't show you the rest of it. This goes up to, so if you know Excel, it basically goes up to CX on the top row. When I extract the data, it tells me how many forms have been completed. It doesn't tell me their score. It doesn't tell me, it just doesn't tell me their score. It just tells me who's completed it and how many's been completed. If you've done 2, then usually there's going to be a nothing here, which is here, if you can see it. If you've got some other things left to do, I'd automatically write them in. So if you've got a second measure, if you need to do an EET, which is education, employment and training form, if you need to do consent, which is no longer needed, but everything you need to do, I do it by hand. It now takes me 3 hours because I'm just so used to it. But if you needed help with this system, it'd take you a couple of days to learn it. So yeah. Right, so every database that I have has these tabs at the bottom. So open cases, which is of course open cases. Statistics, which is my statistical page. It tells me how well we're doing in terms of consent, in terms of completing the minimum data set and any outstanding forms. Difficulties, the schedule is basically just making sure I'm on schedule, sending the forms out, the emails out, sorry. Now, the most important 2 tabs for this whole database is difficulties collecting data. Now, difficulties collecting data for Southwark and Lambeth. You'll find that a lot of people aren't collecting data, and a lot of people automatically assume they're not doing their job. They actually are. So, in the previous slide, if you go back, sorry, you'll find it's color-coded. Each color represents an issue. So, for example, yellow means you've only seen them twice. Now, the next time you see them, you either need to do a measure or do a follow-up measure. Purple and blue, means they were pre-IAPT, meaning that they were there before IAPT started, so they are the longest caseload, and it's really hard to get any IAPT measures because you'll find a lot of these caseloads are ADHD cases, quite hard to get anything with. So I usually encourage clinicians to do SDQs because it's more appropriate for those cases. Now pink or purple means that there is an issue. Either they're in tier 4, they're refusing to do IAPT forms, there's an external issue, there might be social care issues, and this is stopping anyone from doing any forms with that young person. So this colour, pink and purple, are clinicians' favourite colours. As soon as they see pink and purple, they're like, yes, you don't have to do it. because they know there is an issue and I'm not expecting anything anytime soon. As soon as the issue is resolved, it comes off, and anything in white they need to do. If you go to the next, thank you. So these two tabs, difficulties collecting Southwark and Lambeth, are very important. At the moment, I've got about 200 cases that are difficult alone on Southwark. A lot of these cases have been discharged, but sometimes they come back, and when they have come back, I've already got it on the system and it's still there, so I know there has been an issue. They're not pink when they come back, but in case there is, I know where the reason is. Okay, this is for new cases. And same again, unless they've told me there's an issue, they're white. If there is an issue, it's blue. This colour coding is a bit different. There's only one colour, and it's blue. And that means there's difficulties. Apart from that, everyone is new, and we're expecting at least one time point measure.
Okay, so regular communication and updates. So a monthly email circulating, stating very clearly what each clinician is required to do, keep a minimum target. And this allows, obviously, the clinicians to communicate with the administrator, alert them to any difficult cases. An individual email sent to the clinicians regarding their own caseload, and the team managers are each provided with the information so that they can monitor and have those conversations with any issues they may have. It can also be used in supervision to sort of look at any problem area, and also looking at the measures and how they're sort of getting on in their one-to-one session. So, and Lynette spoke about the colour-coded spreadsheet, really. I mean, I think it's been quite sort of helpful over the years in terms of sort of staff changeover. So when staff leave, especially if they've been trained in IAPT, I've been thinking, oh gosh. But actually now we've got new staff coming in that are IAPT trained. So actually, when people kind of leave, it's much easier to embed in. We've recently got a couple of new staff, well, in fact 3 actually, recently got IAPT trained, which is great. And obviously that will continue with it.
So this is the email that I send every month or every week, depending on the time of the year. And it's just like a quick thank you for doing IAPT measures, and then it explains the colour coding. Now, this colour code is not as advanced as my one because they probably couldn't read it. So I just put the basics down, and then it follows with their caseload list and what's needed for each person. And then if they have any issues, they can just email me or tell me if there's a problem with somebody collecting measures.
Okay, so once we find that once clinicians achieve the target, they're more likely to complete additional forms. They completely sort of understood what's required. And we found it more effective to concentrate on completing forms for all new clients. There is a continuation of IAPT forms until discharge. And as Lynette has said, it's been harder to collect forms for cases that have been open before IAPT was invented, really. Ongoing plans, because it is a moving, ongoing operation, really. So changes in team staff structures. All clinicians are begin to input their own data correctly, and actually I think when we've got the iPads thankfully worked in Lewisham and employment, so I'm quite pleased that they were able to sort out any teething problems before they came to bigger boroughs, and be able to analyse and understand data, and be able to use input follow-up, and supervision to look at outcomes, management and clinical. We've done a lot of that. We need to sort of continue with that.
Chowdhury from West London. Do you have any business intelligence tools that you thought about replacing spreadsheets with?
Yes, and it is extremely hard. We've been trying for the past 6 months, and I'm the only business intelligence that they have at the moment. Basically, on our insight system, we have to put in codes to extract the data, and because the insight has been there so long, the codes that they've used haven't actually changed, even though IAPT has come into the system. So what I now do is I manually go into each caseload and extract their scores. So we've started doing that with a lot of teams. So we can see whether there's been an improvement when using certain forms, when using certain types of therapies. But in terms of finding business intelligence, it's going to take a while because we have to reconfigure the whole system to do it successfully.
How do you integrate this data with your trustwide? Say if there's a national collection tomorrow with CYP as well as other data sets. So if you need to give a trustwide picture,
Goes through me.
how would you?
So I have to see what the criteria is for trustwide data, whether they want to base it on discharge clients, they want to base it on new clients or ongoing cases. A lot of the time it's based on discharge clients, so I need to go and extract all the data for the discharge clients, create a formula on my statistics page, color code everything, and basically do what I do on my own spreadsheet, just with different formulas. And I usually, and I have done that a couple of times, it takes me about a day if I have to do it for the whole of Lambeth and Southwark. And usually it's quite good, the results, but that's if I've got the correct formulas in and I know what to do.
So you're not loading your data into a data warehouse?
But
You're loading your data into a data warehouse, a central data warehouse where you can...
when I extract the results and then tally everything up? Or do you mean...
I think what you need to do, we use the same system as you can essentially.
Yeah.
What we do, we create a load of ETL processes to extract the data that you're using manually from the back end of Carenos into Microsoft SQL Server, and then you use Report Manager then to generate the reports which you're manually going through, and then extract that data from Report Manager rather than the back end of Carenos.
That enables your live report.
Yeah.
And then you can feed it into any VI tool, whether it's ClickView or any ASP.NET, any solution that you want, you can just put it on top of your data warehouse.
We do have that, but the problem is the data that they extract, they haven't put in the correct details to extract the data they want. So I actually have to go in and then take out. So before when we used to give court data, it used to come in 3 CDS files, 30 CDS files. That's basically what I have to extract the data from. Or extract it live from our insight reports. They haven't yet affected the formula, so a lot of the time there are a lot of discrepancies, and I notice them immediately. So I'm like, no, this team has done more than that. I know what this team has done because I'm so familiar with it. I tried using Stata to look at a lot of the data and see where any of the where anything was really. But it was a bit hard because, again, the formulas that they use behind those details they use are not actually correct. So
Yeah, we find the same problem. I think a lot of the clinical systems, although they will say that they conform to whatever the requirement is, but no, the mapping doesn't exist. It will call A here and then it's called 1 somewhere else. So you just have to manually map it. I think everybody has the same issues. Whether you do it manually or you load it into your data warehouse, you still have to do all the legwork.
I think you're raising a really good issue because I think more and more we're on board with right up doing measures, but I think what we're trying to do is extract the data out of the back end of it most effectively in a kind of way that the data's got good quality, it fits with the clinical perspective, and it's that kind of relationship between BI or informatics and the clinicians and the system levels to kind of really make sure that we've got the right data. We'll come back to that a bit later on the agenda because it's very easy to get data out, but it's easy to get good data out. So I think it would be really lovely today to connect up. Is there a way that trust could share resources and work on different systems with kind of different way that they're intended? But is there anything that we can create as a shared resource system that's really
How do you set the second time?
Well, it's with the clinician really, and the expectation of when it will be completed in which sort of time frame. So it's certainly within 3 months, isn't it?
Well, I usually get them to do second time point in So if they're doing a course of CBT, which is 12 sessions, I get them to do second time point, fourth session. Because at the fourth session, you either find out whether the person is going to come back or whether you're going to review the case and see whether any changes have actually been helpful or not. Because you don't really want to waste the young person's time. If you think there's another method that can be more suited for the young person and their family, we automatically go to that method.
And it's going to be done soon enough, so
Yeah.
actually for I think it's also important to say, although we're not 100% sure, but we're sitting sort of at the 80s in terms of the centre effective.
Okay, so how do you
Got this?
No, I
That's
don't
fine.
like it. If it's repeated, maybe people think I've just kind of question
No,
that.
that's fine.
So how did you decide on your measures? Well, what I'm thinking, you haven't got goal-based measures, or you haven't mentioned the use of goal-based measures. So how did you decide to go with those?
There was lots of discussion with that really. I think, I think there are sort of staff that use other measures, goal-based measures as well, but I think it was about getting sort of a realistic and getting the timelines and the measures that actually we felt confident the staff would complete it. So there are other measures. We're not kind of saying, only complete this. There are other measures, and we wanted to kind of make sure staff did that really. But we were, I think in the beginning, we were very ambitious about sort of like, this is what we want staff to do. Staff were kind of going. So it was, and I'm slightly disappointed with that. But actually, there's still an encouragement still on PJS, but it's better to do something well rather than kind of big ambitious and not really completed. Does that make sense?
How do you find out the number of sessions that they've done? Do you use that from do you draw that from different data set?
Different data set. We've got about 70 days.
Sorry?
We've got 70 different ways of extracting data. So I just click on, so it's already been formulated, I can just click on it and it would extract the report for me, and that's done. The problem we have is extracting the scores for the measures that have been completed and also to formulate this in one go. It just takes a long time to do what we wanted to do. We basically have to manipulate it quite a bit.
And the double checking, you said that you double check what the clinicians do. How does that work?
Because if I go into a site and a clinician asks me, oh, did you see the measure for James Bond? I'll be like, yes, I saw the measure for James Bond, he did this and that. It's basically me recollecting that they've done it. And I know what they've done. I've been there so long, I can remember who's done what. If they give me a name and I don't recognise it, I can say to them, I don't have a clue about this name, let me check it. And 9 times out of 10 it's not been done. But
so you're not cleaning the data, you're just seeing whether it's there.
Yeah.
But that's getting better and better as staff are feeling more confident to do it.
Yeah, there's no cleaning anyway. I just have to make it look. I basically have to put it in a readable format. Because if I gave them what I do, I don't think they'd be able to read it.
Can I just ask about your time 2? What's the percentage of those that you get back? What's the problem that we have in our trust?
Time 2. Right. Time 1 was an issue for us, wasn't it? Yeah. Time 1, just getting them to do the measures was an issue. When it came to time 2, again, it came down to tricks. And it was an issue of they take an assessment pack and assume at time 2 they have to do the same assessment pack. And the first thing they'd say is, it takes too much time. And I turn around and I say, no, it doesn't. If I show you, so I'd show them on our PGS system with all the graphs, you'd find they don't need to do an RCANS or they don't have to do a PHQ-9. They probably only have to do one form because that's where it's clinically relevant. And that's the issue. When it comes to time 2, you have to remind them it has to be clinically relevant. Don't do everything because you have to. Do it because it needs to be done and you want to show the young person that there is actually an improvement or there will be an improvement. So the time 2s, give them a bit of leeway. So as Tracey said, 3 months, the maximum they get, and then encourage them to do, not the minimum, but just to do something to show that there is some activity.
but it was something that actually we kind of, you know, made very clear that they could do from, say, the sort of month to the 12 weeks, as opposed to kind of leaving it to the 12 weeks, young person got discharged, and then it wasn't completed. So I think it was important to kind of flag it up earlier. So actually, and if it's not clinically relevant at that time, you know, consider the next time, so that actually the young person has been discharged, and then they
just think we have lots of issues with data collection. When we spoke to staff, they kind of said, "Oh, the systems aren't in place to help us." So we did a very similar thing to you. We did assessment packs, we did tracking spreadsheets, we emailed them out saying your time 2 is due, and now we've got all these systems in place. Now we're not seeing any improvement, and I was like, how did you go about changing the clinicians' attitudes to that? Because it seems like for us, we fix one problem for them, and then they come up with another reason why they can't do it, and that's what we're really struggling with now. Like, we've spent months and loads of money getting loads of assistants in to help with these systems, and then there's another issue.
Yeah, and certainly I think it was a sort of two-pronged attack, really, in terms of having all the sort of data and actually having sort of the management side of things, in terms of having those solutions. And actually, I know the staff that actually are reluctant, but we're winning them over, and the staff actually have embraced it. So actually, we sort of work quite closely together, and actually, but it is, you know, I do think people start to look, it's going to go away, and actually being really clear, I'm not going to go away, we signed up to do this, you know, what's your concerns? You know, and the concerns I had, oh, I don't think the young people do like it. Well, I haven't heard that feedback. No, I haven't. And actually, it was then being sort of slightly creative in our clinical governance days, getting young people to school. And they're obviously going to get far more attention, so they should, to the young people to say, actually, I'm quite happy with these information. You know, I like seeing where I was on this sort of tracker. So it was just, it's hard work, but we just kept going with it. Did lots of training, clinical governance, and actually having that, you know, contact, you know, in team meetings, you know, and actually with their IAPT data for that specific team, and actually sharing what works, what doesn't work across the teams, really.
I would add two things. Competition between teams is very, very good. I have one team that are 98% done with their pair measures, and they're so competitive because they want to do better than any other team. So what sometimes
I know the team she's talking about.
Yeah. And sometimes what I had to do was like, they asked me, oh, so how are we doing? Well, actually, you're not that great compared to such and such team. And they're like, oh, why aren't we great to that? Okay, we're going to push it up. I had one clinician say, that's it. Everybody does IAPT measurements because we need to beat the other team, but also do clinically relevant. Also, you have to see the background of the clinicians. Psychologists, they will do IAPT. They will do IAPT morning, noon, they will do IAPT. Psychotherapists, that's not their background. They don't write forms, so you need to find a common ground with them. For me, finding a common ground was basically narrowing it down to the most acceptable form, but for them, which is calls. It's the most creative way. I gave them options of how to complete the calls in a creative way. And then you'll slowly find that they'll do an SDQ on occasion. Then they'll do an SDQ every single time they meet a new client. And then they do the calls and the SDQ. It's just giving them an easy build up towards doing everything else, because you'll find that they know it's not hard. They just
Once they start,
they'll just get into it. I've got one psychotherapist, she hates IAPT. But funnily enough, she does all the IAPT for me. She was like, you say it quite easily for me, so I know what to do. I know I don't have to do it every session, but I know what to do them now. So she'd do a pack every 4 sessions, every 5 sessions, because she's now seen an improvement. So if you show an improvement, they'll love it and they'll do it again.
Could I just ask you, because one of the things a colleague there was saying about the different initiatives, one of the things that really stands out to me is that you've got a dedicated administrator, you're full-time, right? Yeah. And that's, I haven't heard of that before. So I wondered, when it came to either the trust or the commissioners deciding that you were going to invest in this post as opposed to your frontline staff, what were the conversations? How did you go about that?
It's not budgeted for in the budget. We sort of manage it with sort of some of the vacancies we've had. So it's not a long-term post, and actually it is about, you know, support in terms of embedding it. And actually when we get the iPads, you know, and they are fully functioning but across all of the sites, across all boroughs, actually it will then be much easier because our EPJS system can upload it, really.
Yeah, I'm not here forever.
So,
And I keep telling them I'm not here forever.
so it's a gradual process, but it is, you know, across all the staff, it was absolutely essential. And actually, I think it's been a good investment actually to really, you know, bed it down, have those conversations, and feedback actually. But you know, we did sign up to it. There was, you know, and also it's split between both the boroughs. So actually, it's not, you know, it's not across one site. And it was, you know, money that actually was well spent. So yes, but as I said, it's not budgeted, but.
Should we do one last question and then we'll move on?
I just wondered what your background was, because I mean, you put yourself in administrator. It sounds like you have like programming, IT, all that kind of thing. Like,
Basically, my first degree was in psychology and economics, but now I'm doing economic evaluation in healthcare as a master. So that's how I know how to analyse data and be cost effective and utility effective.
We get good value for our money coming in there.
Yeah.